Hello guys. Today I wanna show you how I made Romanian minimal house track using Ableton. Let's start with kick and bass. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any video in the future. I choose a short and punchy kick for this track, which sounds like this. I decided to put minimum processing on it, because it already sounded good. I just added a high-pass filter to get rid of sub-frequencies, and made it mono. Let's move on to the bass. I made it using operator. The main oscillator is saw. The second, third, and fourth one are sine waves, which goes to low-pass filter, which is set to 47 Hz. In order to add some punch to the bass, I set filter envelope up to 30%. I also added some saturation to make it warmer. And it sounds like this. Here's the MIDI clip of the bass. Nothing's fancy here. It's just two notes playing around. The bass too is absolutely the same as the first one I showed you before. The only difference is that I added automation on a low-pass filter and draw an absolutely random shape to make it less boring and to add some human touch feeling. I also added some saturation, chorus, delay and high-pass filter to leave some space for the main bass. Also low-pass filter with some modulation to give it some movement. For me personally, drums are the most important element of the track, and I spend majority of my time and attention on it. I usually use a lot of drum elements and layers to make my whole vision come true. Let's start with modulated loop. It's a simple 2-bar drum loop with some transpose automation which I added right on audio clip. That gives interesting modular sound and changes this drum loop drastically. I really like Ableton's grain delay, which gives an organic and interesting yet modular vibe to the sound. Here's absolutely random presets with absolutely random settings, and that gives insane delay sound to this loop. Here's also some erosion to highlight the transients and saturation to add some extra harmonics, and squeeze dynamic range a little bit. This chorus also plays a significant role in this modulated loop. This is a preset called Resource. I added 2 automations using rate and amount settings. That gives an interesting effect and makes this loop sound like it's made with real modular synthesizer. And finally, I added equalizer to get rid of all unnecessary frequencies. There's the percussion roll. It's a simple percussion sample with some reverb on it. The main secret of this interesting sound is bandpass filter, which is linked to rapid LFO. I also added distortion to change the tone of the sound and added some EQ. I added some toms to make the groove more interesting, and I also noticed that there lack of low-mid information in the track. Those sounds like this. snares and claps. There are some snares with playing every second beat, and with extra variations and velocity changes. I applied some groove on that to make it sound less robotic. And the clap is a bit tricky here. Here's size and decay parameters automation on reverb with random shapes. That gives some space and uniqueness to this clap. Here are some cymbals. It's a simple short decay hat which plays every off beat. I added a very small amount of grain delay to achieve some movement, and rolled off some low frequencies to prevent it clashing with kick and bass. I like to use multiple samples that are playing at the same time, to achieve unique sounding drums. Here's the second hat with some reverb and delay on it. I also make it a bit whiter using Ableton simple delay. And here's the third hat. I always use extra hat with longer decay time, to give a track some missing energy and groove. There's an extra hat. This one has a very short decay time and plays every beat. I noticed that adding hat that plays in 4 on the floor pattern gives a funky and groovy vibe to the track and adds some extra transient to the kick drum. It also has a low-pass filter with some modulation to make sound more interesting. Next one is a hat roll. To make it less robotic, I decided to add decay time automation, which goes like this. Here's already lots of hats, and in order to prevent clashing, I sidechained this hat roll to the hat that plays every offbeat, and this keeps the main hat cut through the mix. I made it more whiter with simple delay, and added some EQ. After that, I decided to get rid of couple bars in MIDI pattern, which made these hats more groovy. Now I am gonna show you how I made my percussion. I grabbed a blank drum rack from Ableton's instruments library and added a bunch of random percussion sounds in here. Then I made 8 bars long MIDI pattern and added MIDI notes across the whole clip in random order. After that, I added a pair of random grain delay presets. And on the top of that, I sidechained it to the kick drum. A few moments later, I decided to add additional hat roll that plays at the second drop. Then I opened a MIDI clip and made some of the MIDI bars longer that automatically increased the decay time of hat at the particular time. Then I added some movement using auto filter with some LFO on it. I made it whiter and sidechained it to the main hat. One more important element is the rides. These starts to play at the end of both drops, just to give some progression. Rides supposed to play in the background, so I made those whiter as well. I also added some delay and rolled off low frequencies. On the second drop, I decided to add additional percussion to make the second drop different from the first one. key here is Ableton's grain delay, and his preset called minor third down, which gives huge amount of movement and groove to the sound. Here's also some reverb, distortion, delay and EQ. Let's start with pad. Some time ago I realized that it's possible to make amazing pads out of any sample you like. I can't wait to show it to you guys, so let's jump right into it. So here's the pad. I took a random sample and made one bar MIDI clip with some random notes to trigger the sample. After that I added both low and high pass filters with LFO. Then I applied chorus to push it more to the sides. The main secret of making pads out of any sample is huge amount of reverb. I applied the one that Ableton offers and tweaked decay time up to 20 seconds and dry wet knob up to 56%. Another very important thing is grain delay, which adds granular and atmospheric sound to the pad. I also removed low frequencies to leave space for other instruments. And applied another filter and made low-pass automation across the arrangement. The synth you hear right now I made using Technique, the one I used to make my pad. I took the sample I liked and made rhythmic MIDI pattern to trigger it. And applied some effects on it. Chorus to make it whiter. Ableton's auto filter with some LFO. Some delay to get some movement. And high pass filter to cut unnecessary frequencies. After all, I decided to add some vintage vibe to the track and made this synth and added it to the break and second drop. I took a sample with jazzy vibe and resampled it using by adding some echo, low and high pass filters, chorus, and some EQ. The atmosphere plays a huge role in Romanian minimal house style music. To achieve dark and weird sounding atmosphere, I took a bunch of random FX sounds and dropped straight into arrangement across the whole track. To make it atmospheric, I applied grain delay's preset called Drive Low. To make it more darker, I added echo with extreme feedback setting. Removed all unwanted low frequencies and pushed whole atmosphere to the background by using delay with extreme settings. The last but also important element is background noise. It helps achieving that analog vintage vibe to the track. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any question, please leave it in comment section and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I see you guys soon.